I'm Sam from Cultaholic, and this is Graded for Friday Night SmackDown, where I take a look at the show segment by segment and award each little bit of grade from A+ to F. We are fresh on the heels of an amazing Clash of Champions. There is a lot that has affected the status quo of the SmackDown roster, and there's a hell of a lot going on this week. Usually I write like 4 pages. This week it was nearly 5, so I do apologise if it's a little bit long. But because it's long, I guess we should just crack on with it. So without any further ado, hit the intro. So we kick things off this week with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns coming down to the ring, but screw that, nobody cares. Adam Pachiti's in the audience. Paul says, you know what, I'm quite nervous because this moment's been coming for a long time. I've known Roman since he was born, and this was always going to be on the cards. And then he starts rattling off members of the Anoa'i family that Roman is now, the chief. He is the chief of that family. And then Roman just holds his hand out. Heyman puts the microphone in his hand. He's like, no, don't call me the chief. You can't appoint me the chief because he wouldn't call me the chief. He's obviously referring to Jey Uso here. He demands he come down to the ring. Out he comes, looking a little bit upset. He tells Roman, you know what, I don't recognise the man that stood in front of me, but you showed me your true colours at Clash and you may have beat my ass, as he says. He literally says this, you may have beat my ass, but you'll never break my spirit. He says that the title should be his, and then Roman's like, you know what, I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud. It was the worst night of my life, both personally and professionally. He says all I wanted to do was put you in the main event, get you a nice payday for you and your family, get you some spotlight, and all you needed to do to return the favour to me was just accept me as chief. Roman says that not only did Jey embarrass the family, he also broke his heart. So Jey has not really been making eye contact with Roman much here. He's just staring at the title. And Roman sort of chastises him for it. And he's like, you know what? Is this all that's important to you? If this is all that's important to you, you feel free to come and take it again. You want to do it at Hell in a Cell? And then the virtual crowd goes wild because somebody's out there pressing buttons. But I was going wild too at home because this is going to be amazing. But then Roman leans in and he's like, the only thing is, this will have the highest stakes of any match in WWE history. He leans in proper close as if he's going to give him a hug, and he's like, you know what? If I was you, man, I wouldn't accept it. He then leaves the ring, gets all the way up the ramp. He's about to go through the back. Jey picks up the mic, and he says, challenge accepted. What a promo here. It mirrored the promo from last week perfectly. It's getting an A+. Roman as this conflicted character is just fantastic because he fully believes what he's doing is right, and those are the best villains in all of media. If a villain firmly believes that they're in the right and that they're trying to help everybody, trying to do something good, and then, they'll do anything to achieve that, it makes them so much more compelling as villains. And then you've got Jey, who's just the ultimate underdog. How can you not get behind him? It's just great. The stakes thing could be really interesting, but my immediate thought was that perhaps Jey's not just going to be fighting for his own job at Hell in a Cell, because that's a high stake, isn't it? Losing your job is a high stake, but if it's going to be the highest stakes, and if Roman, just wants to get rid of all of these pesky family members, then maybe Jey will not only be fighting for his own job, but for Jimmy's and for Naomi's, and that leaves Roman as, the big Anoa'i on the block. He's of course neglecting the fact that Big Dwayne Rockers is probably a lock-on for WrestleMania at some point, because if Roman retires The Rock, could you imagine the heat? But yes, I could see that being the stipulation. Like, if he is wanting to eliminate these family members who are being unruly, then he can just get rid of them. If he gets rid of them, there's nobody left to, annoy him. AJ then comes out and he pokes fun at all the family drama. He essentially tells Jey, you know what? I don't want to see you get your ass kicked again. I don't think you want to get your ass kicked again. Just let me go in there. Let me have the position. AJ obviously wants the title back. Jey sort of keeps his cool and laughs about it a little bit, and then AJ calls Jimmy the better athlete, and then Jey just explodes on him. He even comes diving off the announce table. They brawl around the ring a little bit, and then we go to break. So when we come back and the match starts, AJ's sort of teaching a lesson to Jey about fighting when emotional. You might be full of anger, you might be full of piss and vinegar, but you're just going to start swinging wildly, and if somebody's got a tactic, they're going to be able to play you against yourself very easily. But the thing is, with the emotion side of it, Jey can't be kept down. AJ will just take him out, grind him down. He's straight back up. He's just full of energy. He wants to prove himself here. It does get to a point though where AJ is grinding him down. Jey does go for a dive heading into one of the breaks, but AJ stops that and then hurls him into the announce table. When we come back, he's continuing the grind, but Jey very quickly goes for a Samoan drop, and he's able to finally get into the driver's seat here. There's a nice little exchange here. Styles dodges a super kick, he connects with a Pele, and then he goes straight into a backbreaker. But he can't put Jey away. He goes for the clash, but Jey dumps him to the floor. Jey then hits a huge dive to wipe him out, heading into another break. Back in the ring, AJ blocks the splash, and then he lines up for the forearm, only for Jey to come and super kick the ropes out from underneath him. He falls like a sack of potatoes, and it's great. It looked brutal, but it was great. It's then not long after that Jey nails, I think, 2 super kicks before picking up the win. I'm going to give this one a B. I really liked AJ here, coming down to pick the bones like a little vulture. I thought it was a perfect fit, and I think there is a position in this storyline for a spoiler to come along. Somebody like Styles who wants the title. Jey isn't the only person that wants to be Universal Champ, and nor should he be. So, there has to be people on the road that are going to try and derail his chances as much as Roman's going to try and beat him down. Whether this continues or not, up in the air, but it'll be a good option to have moving forward. The other thing as well was we've not really seen much of these two before going back and forth, and it was really nice. It felt really fresh, and I'm all for seeing more of this, please. We then go to Sami Zayn backstage, who's like, "No, I'm not gonna gloat while holding both belts," and he's gloating the entire time. It's magnificent. He says that he's filled with resentment and anger, the fact that he had to put himself through hell in order to get something back that was rightfully his in the first place. And initially, that anger was directed toward WWE management, but he's come to realize it's not just their fault, because we should have been kicking up a fuss. So guess who he blames? That's right, he blames the classic heel enemy, you people. He then Medusa's the second title, and I really hope here that we get like a comedy character that comes along, finds the title, and just carries on as if they're somehow the IC champion. I think that would be great. It's similar to the whole Jim Duggan TV title in WCW. If you've never seen that, go look it up. It was mental, but it was just, entertaining. We then go to John Morrison versus Otis, and Morrison and Miz need stopping because they're trying to break my boy apart, and I can't be having any of that. We get a little picture-in-picture promo as well, and Otis announces that next week in court, he is going to represent himself. Buddy, please know what you're doing. I hope the judge likes sandwiches or something and you're able to sort of bribe him with it, or I don't know. I'm pretty worried, mate. I'm pretty worried. But bigger question, how does this match go? Well, I'll read it out for you all. Morrison staves off Otis from a distance before being eaten alive. Ooh. I'm amazed that the guy isn't a pancake at this point. Otis essentially very quickly hits the Caterpillar and then the Vader Bomb and then picks up the 3. Big old win for my boy there, but it's only going to get a C because squash. I'm excited to see the court next week though. I think that promo is going to be exceptional. All of the stuff we've had around these characters has been great, especially the date, the workout promo. Well, not workout, it was sort of like a workout promo, but like Otis getting ready for the date and stuff. Maybe, hopefully, we can have something like that with this courtroom appearance. We then go to Sheamus versus Shorty G. Is it January? What the flip is going on? While Sheamus is making his entrance, Big E pops up picture in picture and he confirms that next week he and Sheamus are going to be having a Falls Count Anywhere match, but then the match starts. Sheamus is almost immediately rolled up and then he goes for the brogue. Shorty's able to maneuver around him though because he's a lot smaller and a lot faster, and then eventually Shorty comes off the rope, sort of flips to avoid Sheamus, lands on his feet, turns around into a brogue kick. Sheamus ain't done though. He wants to make an example of this shorter man because he's so short and it's such a crime. And then he brogues him again. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to give this one a D. I don't understand where the hell it came from, but I guess, it's nice to have a stroll down memory lane every now and then. The match was perfectly fine. The only thing that really annoyed me about it, and I know that it's probably just because the show was absolutely rammed, Shorty G didn't get an entrance. And it always just feels really awkward when it's an established star and, they're just waiting in the ring. And then next up, we've got a very special edition of the KO show. Now, a little bit earlier, I'll just mention this now, so you're not all in the comments going, you missed this. There's a whole thing with Kevin Owens backstage, just preparing his notes. He's looking at his little cards, and there's a TV screen behind him with just the SmackDown logo on it, and it keeps just flickering, and then Firefly Funhouse appears, then a Fiend face, then it goes back to normal. But now back to KO show. Owens actually teases coming to the blue brand at the draft. So fingers crossed. I'd really like to have Kevin Owens over here. He then reveals that he's here on a little bit of a mission, actually. He needs to get some answers out of Alexa Bliss. And then we see a recap of her going absolutely ham last week. And, like the red light and her hair going everywhere and attacking Lacey and just proper crazy Alexa moment. Owens tries to find the Alexa he knows. He's like, I've seen a change in you. And it reminds me a lot of the change I've seen in Aleister Black over on Raw. And Alexa's not really giving him anything. When he tells her that he sees a change in her, she's like, well, people change. That's the sort of blunt answers that she's giving. But he sort of pleads with her. He's like, you know, if I can find out how this has affected you, maybe I can understand a little bit more about Aleister Black. It's just a little bit awkward. And then he tells her that she's brainwashed, and all of a sudden she's like, yeah, I was brainwashed, yeah. She says that all the lies have been washed away and now she sees the truth. She says that he's cleansed her. And then Owens is sort of looking at her and he's like, is he here right now? And she's like, enthusiastically like, he's everywhere. But then her face completely drops. She's like, goes from smiling and she's just like, let him in. And then Owens just jumps and then the lights all start going off one by one. And then eventually it's all blacked out, red lights, and Owens gets attacked with a mandible claw. But then after Owens is out and just completely passed out, the Fiend turns to Alexa and he offers her his hand and she stands up. She puts her hand in his, she smiles, and holy balls, what a promo. So yeah, it just cuts away after that. Alexa puts her hand in his, smiles, and then boom, straight off. And if you are not gripped by this storyline, then Jesus Christ, what are you watching? I'm going to give this an A. I love the idea that Owens is coming in here to be the sort of investigator character. Now, we obviously had Miz do a little bit of investigating of his own back around the Daniel Bryan Fiend time when he was a little bit concerned for him. And he's like, I'm not your friend, but, you know, I'm quite worried. But we never really progressed beyond the Fiend changes you. But now we've sort of got gentle confirmation that he is brainwashing people, he can control people, and there is a weird affinity for Alexa Bliss. These two are going to be intrinsically linked for quite some time. We then go to Corbin, Cesaro, and Nakamura versus Riddle, Lince Dorado, and Gran Metalik. Before they head through the curtain, Lucha House Party are having a quick interview, and they're asked where Kalisto is, and Lince cracks a joke about him still being stuck in the locker room trying to get his mask on over his massive head. Also, just want to give a shout out here to Lince Dorado for dressing up as the Megazord from Power Rangers. You, sir, are an absolute gent and a scholar. You know, my favourite member of the Lucha House Party forever. Yeah. So Nakamura and Lince start off hot before Kalisto makes his way down to the ring and he's like, guys, you left me in the back. But then when we come back from the break, Metalik is just trapped in enemy territory and he's being worked over hard. He does manage to escape though, and in comes Riddle, in comes Corbin, and these two just go straight at it. Corbin really has a hard time with Riddle as Riddle's just full of energy. He's like sort of managing to block maybe 1 in every 4 moves, but then Corbin almost gets pinned until Nakamura comes in and breaks it up. Things then break down a little bit and we get one of those moments where everybody has a little bit of time to shine. There is a moment though where Lince escapes a suplex attempt from Cesaro. He flips over, lands, and he goes to shove him into Kalisto, who stood on the apron, except Cesaro sidesteps and shoves Lince into Kalisto. Kalisto still connects with the kick. But then in all the confusion, Cesaro seems to have forgotten about Riddle. He turns around straight into a final flash, into a bro Derek. Riddle picks up the win. So immediately Kalisto rushes into the ring and he's checking over Gran Metalik, and then Lince gets in and shoves him again. There's a little bit of a falling out and Riddle's just trying to, like, you know, calm everybody down, but Jesus, this place is going to explode soon. I'm going to give this a B-. It wasn't exactly the most exciting match, you know, but it ticked all of the right boxes. It felt a little bit more like a feud extender than anything else. So if anything, I guess exciting, but hollow. And then finally, we get the reveal of who the mystery woman is. So we've been getting teasers, just little shots of like heels or like hands and stuff, or like the side of a face for a couple of weeks now, and it's revealed to be Carmella. She says she lost herself for a little bit, but now she remembers who she is, but she does know who to blame. I'll give you one guess. That's right, it's you people. She says that playing up to us got her absolutely nowhere. She's better than every single one of us, and she's no longer our princess. She's untouchable. If she wants to be. And then we go to Sasha Banks, who's coming down to the ring to address everything that happened between her and Bayley at Clash. Sasha tells Bayley that she's a coward and she sees her for what she is, somebody that needed to use Sasha in order to achieve her goals. She knows that Bayley's scared of her, but next week it's going to be one-on-one Bayley versus Sasha Banks for the title on SmackDown. She then closes off the promo by stating, "You don't stand a chance, bitch." I should add she ripped off her like medical foam collar and she stood over that at the end. This is going to be insane. I don't see her winning next week. I think that Bayley's going to have to resort to some sort of shenanigans in order to retain, but oh, what a match. It's also very quickly confirmed here that we have Kevin Owens versus The Fiend next week, so fingers crossed he's coming across full time. And now it's time for our main event, which pits Jeff Hardy against Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship. Both men look like they've been through the wars. Jeff's limping a little bit, Sami's got his ribs taped up. When the match starts, Jeff's immediately driven into the corner and Sami just starts laying in pretty aggressive strikes. Jeff fires back at Sami's taped ribs and then Sami tries to hurl Jeff into the corner where mysteriously, all of a sudden, the corner pad's gone. The turnbuckle pad has been removed. This is quickly confirmed like a few minutes after this to have been Sami during Jeff's entrance. He managed to do it without the referee noticing, but yeah, nearly Jeff face first into the turnbuckle. Jeff then sends Sami to the floor and then baseball slides him to death, just straight into the commentary table. And it's like Sami is just there and then all of a sudden there. There's no like transition. He was kicked so hard. It's like, boo-boo! Sami then assumes control after the break, but he's struggling with the ribs big time. He keeps sort of leaning down and just clutching at them. Sami then goes up top only to be blown away by Adam Pacitti making his WWE SmackDown match debut. And Adam gets an A here. Classic worker. Some would say exceptional even, and it has to be muscle memory at this point, but he hits a picture-perfect spunky cock dance right there in the Thunderdome. We're going to give him an A, and we're also going to all join in with a you still got it. Come on, you still got it. Yeah, Jeff cuts Sami off on the ropes though and superplexes him for a double down. We then have a nice little segment here where Sami goes for the Blue Thunder Bomb, Jeff goes for the Twist of Fate, and everything's just really tense. There's then another Blue Thunder Bomb, but Jeff kicks out, and then Jeff goes for the Swanton, but Sami gets his knees up. Jeff then dodges a haluva kick, Sami dodges a Twist of Fate, and then Jeff goes up top for a Swanton, only for Sami to pull his legs away, and you guessed it, he falls face first into the exposed turnbuckle, just right there, wipes him completely out. Sami pins him. I'm going to give this one a B. I really like this match. Both guys have great chemistry. I guess it could be the definitive end to the feud, but I just don't know what Jeff would do otherwise. So I guess we could be moving on to something new. I don't know. We're going to see probably next week when the draft shakes things up a little bit. He still had to resort to cheating, of course, to win, but it was incredibly well thought out, clever cheating, almost like a supervillain, if you will. But in terms of an overall grade this week for SmackDown, I'm going to actually give it an A-. It was absolutely jam-packed, but not in like a cluttered way. Everything's got its own lane, it's all moving along at its own pace, nothing's really stepping in on other, toes storyline-wise. Everybody seems to be getting just the right amount of time, except for Shorty G, who didn't get an entrance. I'm absolutely terrified of what the draft's going to do to our roster here, though, because there is no way they're going to leave us with both the Fiend and all of that storyline, and Roman and all of that storyline intact. There's no way. They're going to have to take one of those, I'd imagine, and so... I'm so nervous about next week. But anyway, that was graded for Friday Night SmackDown. What did you think of the show? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, stay safe, have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you soon.